It is a chilling true crime documentary that reveals the dark side of what seemed to be the perfect family. This is the case of Muhammad Shamji, a brilliant surgeon, a loving father, and a ruthless criminal.
The man who murdered a highly respected doctor in Toronto more than 2 years ago got his sentence today. Muhammad Shamji is going to be in prison for at least 14 years. Shamji is also a doctor and the husband of Elena Frick. Shamji pleaded guilty last month to second-degree murder for killing Frick while their 3 children slept. A life sentence is automatic. Only the parole eligibility had to be determined today.
Good afternoon. Mohammed Shamji has pleaded guilty in the murder of his wife, Dr. Elena Frick Shamji.
The plea came just 45 minutes ago. A caution, some of the details may be disturbing.
Charged with first-degree murder, he pleads guilty to second-degree murder today. And for the first time, we hear the horrible details of what happened that night in their North York home, November the 30th, 2016. It really began the 28th when with Dr. Mohammed Shamji was served with divorce papers by his wife. A few days later, on the 30th, there was an argument that broke out in the bedroom. It became very violent. He struck her several times. He broke her neck, he broke her ribs, and then he strangled her.
When we think of domestic violence, we often imagine it happening in dysfunctional families. But the shocking truth is that abuse can occur in any household, regardless of social status or profession. Muhammad Shamji and his wife, Elena Frick Shamji, were both esteemed doctors. Muhammad was a renowned neurosurgeon known for his work on spine injuries and diseases, while Elena was a highly respected family doctor with a PhD. For years, they dedicated their lives to saving others, yet few knew the dark secrets hidden in their private lives. This story gripped the world's attention. Muhammad Shamji admitted his guilt not out of remorse, but to spare his 12-year-old daughter, who had tragically witnessed her mother's death, from testifying in court.
Did you want to be in the courtroom?
I had some questions that needed to be answered, so I decided to stay.
What questions did you have?
Just how it had happened. I was confused, I guess. So I really needed to know. I don't think I would really want to talk to him again in my life, I guess, just because I would be uncomfortable. I wouldn't really know what to say, and I just don't want to see him again.
Do you have any questions for him?
My questions have already been answered, so not really. It's been like a roller coaster of emotions. It's been emotional. I've been really angry and hurt and sad over what's happened. And I guess that's really it. I mean, there are times that I felt really happy, but there are also times that I just felt really awful about everything.
Just before the tragedy, Elena had posted a photo of Muhammad on social media, joking that her husband, who practiced jiu-jitsu, could not only heal, but also break a neck. This grimly prophetic comment foreshadowed the horror that would soon unfold. Let's start with Elena Frick's life before meeting Muhammad. Born in September 1977 in Windsor, Ontario, Elena was the younger of 2 daughters in the Frick family. Her parents, George and Anafi, had immigrated from Croatia to North America in the early 1970s. Elena was a miracle child. Her mother had been told she could never conceive again after serious complications during her first pregnancy. Growing up, Elena was incredibly close to her older sister, Caroline. The Frick family worked hard to provide their daughters with a good education. Both sisters excelled in school, but Elena stood out for her determination and passion for learning. She spent her free time reading, dancing, practicing gymnastics, and competing in track and field. During her middle school years, Elena even worked summer jobs in cornfields to help support her family and manage her budget wisely. Elena excelled academically, standing out for her determination and passion for learning. By high school, Elena had set her sights on a medical career, driven by a desire to help others. She graduated as the top student and enrolled in a prestigious medical university. Around this time, she began a romantic relationship with Matthew Ryan, a fellow student she had known since high school. Their romance lasted until graduation, but Elena decided to continue her studies in Ottawa's university residency program. while Matthew settled for a job at a local hospital. Their long-distance relationship continued until 2002, when they decided to remain friends. Ilana was interning at one of the country's top clinics and aimed to earn a doctorate, while Matthew hadn't advanced in his career. Then, in February 2003, Ilana met Mohammed Shamji during a night shift at the hospital. Mohammed, a year older than Ilana, was doing his residency in the neurosurgery department. He came from a family of prominent doctors. His father, Fard Shamji, was a renowned surgeon, and his mother, Edith, a talented psychiatrist. Mohammed's older brother, Ali, was an experienced medical biophysicist. Both brothers graduated from Yale University, and Mohammed later earned his doctorate from Western Ontario's Research University. Mohammed's impressive background and tall, dark-skinned appearance immediately caught Ilana's attention. Although Mohammed didn't initially approach her, Ilana was smitten and tried to attract his attention. Soon, Mohammed asked his colleagues for her number, sent her a message, and their relationship began to blossom. Their connection grew quickly, and they spent a lot of time together, sharing their dreams and aspirations. Mohammed's dedication to his career and his charm made a significant impact on Ilana, who admired his work ethic and the legacy of his family's medical achievements. They started going out regularly, and their bond deepened with each passing day. They enjoyed discussing their goals, planning their futures, and supporting each other through the challenges of their demanding careers. Mohammed's impressive background and charismatic personality only made Ilana more drawn to him, and she felt they were building something truly special. In the summer of 2004, Ilana discovered she was pregnant. This news brought more anxiety than joy, as she was unsure about the future and how this would impact her career and personal life. Mohammed, following his strict conservative Muslim upbringing, felt compelled to marry her. They decided to tie the knot with a wedding that included 2 ceremonies to honor both their cultural backgrounds and their friends' expectations. The first ceremony adhered to cultural customs and traditions, paying homage to Mohammed's heritage. It was a grand event, filled with vibrant rituals, traditional attire, and a deep sense of cultural pride. Family members from both sides attended, celebrating the union with joy and festivity. The atmosphere was rich with the sights and sounds of their cultural heritage, creating a memorable experience for everyone involved. The second ceremony was a more contemporary celebration, held for their friends and colleagues from the hospital. This event was less formal, focusing on the couple's modern life and professional achievements. Friends and colleagues gathered to witness their union, enjoying a relaxed and joyous atmosphere. The event featured speeches, toasts, and a celebration of the couple's journey together, blending their professional lives with their personal commitment to each other. Both ceremonies symbolized the merging of their different worlds and the beginning of their new life together. They settled into married life with a mix of excitement and nervousness about what the future would hold. Ilana continued to pursue her medical career, now balancing the demands of her profession with her new responsibilities as a wife and soon-to-be mother. Mohammed's career in neurosurgery was also advancing, and the couple supported each other through the challenges and triumphs they faced. As they navigated their new roles, the couple's relationship continued to evolve. Ilana's pregnancy brought about significant changes in their dynamic, but they both remained committed to building a life together. They faced the typical struggles of balancing demanding careers with their personal lives, but their shared experiences and mutual support helped them grow closer. The journey they embarked on together was just beginning, and despite the uncertainties, they looked forward to the life they were creating as a family. They moved into a spacious house in Ottawa, and in January 2005, welcomed their daughter, Yasmin Ina. However, Mohammed was disappointed. He had hoped for a son. His focus on his career left little time for family, and he grew increasingly irritable and abusive towards Ilana. He criticized her appearance, refused her cooking, and called her names. Ilana endured this quietly, even as the verbal abuse escalated to physical violence. In the summer of 2005, Mohammed punched Ilana in the face, breaking her nose. She fled to friends with her baby and filed a police report. Shockingly, Mohammed begged her to return, promising to change. Driven by fear for his career, he needed to avoid a criminal record as he prepared to enroll at Duke University. Ilana, emotionally dependent on him, dropped the charges and followed him to North Carolina. This decision baffled friends and family, but Ilana believed in his promises. In the United States, they experienced a brief period of calm. Mohammed was accepted into an elite biomedical engineering program at Duke, while Ilana enrolled in a master's program at the School of Policy and Health. Their relationship seemed to stabilize, and in August 2007, they had a second daughter, Fisa. Yet, Mohammed's disappointment at not having a son persisted. Despite this, the family appeared to reconnect and spent more time together. They engaged in family activities, visited local attractions, and tried to create a semblance of a normal family life. In late summer 2009, the family returned to Canada and settled back in Ottawa. Ilana decided not to stay on maternity leave for long, diving back into her career. She resumed her work with a renewed sense of purpose, hoping to regain some normalcy and stability for her children. However, the semblance of normalcy was deceptive. The underlying tensions in their relationship remained, and the emotional scars from past incidents lingered. Despite their efforts to present a united front, cracks began to show in their facade. Mohammed's temper and controlling behavior resurfaced, causing strain in their marriage. Ilana confided in close friends about her struggles, but she felt trapped in the cycle of abuse and reconciliation. Her friends and family grew increasingly concerned for her well-being, urging her to leave Mohammed for good, but Ilana felt torn between her love for her children and her fear of disrupting their lives. Mohammed's career continued to advance, and he gained recognition in his field. This success only served to deepen Ilana's isolation, as Mohammed used his professional status to manipulate and control her further. He insisted on maintaining a perfect public image, while privately their relationship deteriorated. Ilana's attempts to seek help were met with resistance from Mohammed, who threatened her with dire consequences if she exposed the truth. As the years went by, the pattern of abuse persisted. Ilana's resilience was tested repeatedly, and she struggled to find a way out of the toxic environment. The brief periods of calm were overshadowed by the recurring episodes of violence and manipulation. Ilana's hope for a better future for her children kept her going, but the toll on her physical and emotional health was immense. The family's return to Ottawa did not bring the fresh start Ilana had hoped for. Instead, it marked the continuation of a troubled and tumultuous relationship. Ilana's decision to re-enter her career provided a temporary distraction, but the underlying issues in her marriage remained unresolved. The facade of normalcy they maintained could not hide the reality of their situation forever. The challenges Ilana faced were far from over, and the path to true freedom and healing remained uncertain. Mohammed's controlling and abusive behavior resurfaced. During a family ski vacation, he hit Ilana, leaving her with a deep cut on her arm. She told others she had hurt herself skiing, but confided in her best friend that Mohammed had inflicted the injuries following an argument over his affair with a colleague. Ilana's friend urged her to divorce him, but Ilana refused, still hoping to save their marriage. In the summer of 2016, their relationship completely fell apart. After celebrating their 12th wedding anniversary in early September, Ilana told Mohammed she wanted a divorce. Mohammed refused, claiming he was content. Desperate for affection, Ilana had an affair with a colleague. She felt loved and desired again, something she had long missed. On November 25, 2016, a heated argument broke out when Ilana told Mohammed divorce was inevitable. The next day, she met with a divorce lawyer and then left for a medical conference. Mohammed sent her pleading messages to reconsider for the sake of their children. On November 30th, Ilana returned home and made her final phone call to her parents, sounding anxious but assuring them everything was fine. Tragically, on December 1st, Ilana's mother couldn't reach her. Mohammed claimed Ilana had left him and the children for her lover, but her parents didn't believe him. They contacted a close friend who confirmed Ilana's car was still in the driveway. Fearing the worst, her parents flew to Toronto and reported her disappearance to the police. As the investigation began, the police quickly discovered inconsistencies in Mohammed's account of Ilana's whereabouts. The story that she had left for her lover seemed implausible, especially considering her car and belongings were still at the house. The police intensified their search, interviewing friends, family, and colleagues to piece together the events leading up to her disappearance. Ilana's colleagues and friends painted a picture of a woman trapped in a cycle of abuse, trying to escape but fearing for her and her children's safety. The affair she had was a desperate attempt to find solace and love in a life filled with control and fear. The more the police learned about Mohammed, the more they suspected foul play. As the days passed, the community rallied around Ilana's family, offering support and assistance in the search. The media picked up the story, bringing national attention to her disappearance.
The murder of family physician Ilana Frick fits a pattern of violence in this country. Of every violent crime reported to police in 2017, 30%, nearly 1/3, was committed by an intimate partner. According to the Canadian Women's Foundation, a woman is killed by her partner every 6 days. That Shamji beat and strangled Frick to death in 2016, that he's receiving what's described as a life sentence, neither is in dispute. The question is how long before he's eligible to apply for parole. Both the Crown and defense agree that should be no less than 14 years. Joanna Remiliotis tells us what was said in court today was met with tears and rage.
The children can barely talk about their mother. It's still too hard. Today was a glimpse into a family's shattered lives. In court, Anna Frick spoke first as her daughter's killer stared ahead. The nightmare that began that day has never ended and will never end until the day I die. He has destroyed all our lives forever. The children still cannot bear to have their mother mentioned because it is so painful to them. As Mother's Day approaches, she went on, sobbing. Instead of making cards and trinkets for their mother, they lay flowers on her grave. Ilana Frick's body was found in a suitcase. It had been dumped in a river north of Toronto, her hair cut off, her face so swollen. When police asked her parents to identify her, they barely could. The horror of having to identify my daughter after her brutal murder, when she was virtually unrecognizable, will haunt me forever. Court also heard from Frick's friends and colleagues who described her as a rising star, a devoted doctor and mother. Few knew behind the happy facade the abuse was escalating, that she intended to divorce Shamji. He admits he killed her days after he found out. While no one condones his crime, defense also read out 14 letters of support from Shamji's family, colleagues, and former patients. It was hard for the Fricks to listen to, even harder when Shamji addressed the court, turning to apologize to them. "I've thought back to that night," he said. "I should have killed myself and not Ilana." Frick's sister muttered, "Yes, you should have." He went on, "To our children, Yasmin, Faiza, and Marius, I have devastated your lives. I have hurt you immeasurably. I can only say I'm sorry."
Just a ploy, just a show, you know.
After court, Frick's sister, Caroline Lakitch, was still seething.
The wrong life was taken. You should have taken your own. You took a valuable life. If you didn't like yours, why kill somebody else? You're the menace to society.
As for his apology,
it's bullshit. I don't believe it. He's only sad because he got caught. He's not sad for my sister. He's not sad at all.
Shamji's sentence will be handed down tomorrow. Among them, no one expects it will bring justice. Joanna Remiliotis, CBC News, Toronto.
Under mounting pressure, Mohammed's behavior grew increasingly erratic. He tried to maintain his innocence, but the weight of evidence against him was building. On December 5th, the police obtained a search warrant for the Shamji home. During the search, they found bloodstains and other signs of a violent struggle. This discovery, combined with witness testimonies and digital evidence from Mohammed's devices, led to his arrest. He was charged with the murder of Ilana Shamji.
As we mentioned, Mohammed Shamji was sentenced to life in prison with no eligibility for parole for 14 years. For more on the sentence, I'm joined by Karen MacArthur. She's a criminal defense lawyer in Toronto. So, Karen, what do you make of the sentence?
Well, it's not that he received a sentence of 14 years. He's received a life sentence for his guilty plea to second-degree murder. He is eligible for parole at 14 years.
The CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick was in the courtroom in Toronto and joins us live. So what did the judge have to say in passing this sentence, Megan?
Well, Andrew, he outlined the reasons going into his decision, both the mitigating and the aggravating factors that go into sentencing. And as for the mitigating factors, he talked about Shamji's character, talking about how he was known as a skilled neurosurgeon who saved many people's lives. But then the judge also said that's quite a juxtaposition with the fact that he took his own wife's life. But he did say he had no prior criminal record. He also pointed to the fact that Shamji did plead guilty to second-degree murder last month, sparing the family a trial, which he said would have been extremely painful and part of the ongoing nightmare that the family's already been going through for the last 2.5 years, particularly for the 14-year-old daughter who was scheduled to testify against her own father because of what she heard that night, as you heard her grandmother describe there in that clip. And the justice said that would have been the worst possible scenario he could have imagined for the daughter, having to testify against her own father in the murder case of her mother. So he was given essentially some credit for the guilty plea, but the judge also noted that guilty plea only came last month, Andrew, 2.5 years after he was charged with the murder. But Shamji did also issue an apology and show some remorse in court yesterday during the victim impact statement part of ahead of the victim impact statements that were also read in court. He apologized directly to his 3 children and expressed regret for what he had done. The judge also talked about Alana Frick and her character as an aggravating factor, talking about how she was so loved, how she was so smart and brilliant, was a dedicated doctor and considered a rising star in her field. He also talked about the fact that this was a case of domestic violence, how Alana Frick was abused by her husband physically and emotionally, and that the sentence must reflect that kind of crime. And Andrew, one of the detectives that worked on this case also spoke about that to reporters outside the courthouse. Take a listen to what he said.
It's one of the most heinous and serious crimes that often get committed behind closed doors and people don't know about it. And that's where I think it's very important as adults, as citizens, that if we recognize abuse, if you recognize somebody who's going through it, you need to speak to the authorities and you need to bring it to somebody's attention that can take action.
The trial that followed revealed the extent of Mohammed's manipulation and violence. Witnesses testified about the abuse Ilana endured, and forensic evidence painted a grim picture of her final moments. Mohammed's attempts to cover up the crime were meticulously dismantled by the prosecution, exposing his lies and deceit. In the end, Mohammed Shamji was found guilty of second-degree murder. The verdict brought some measure of justice to Ilana's family and friends, but the pain of her loss remained. Her story became a powerful reminder of the dangers of domestic violence and the importance of support systems for those trapped in abusive relationships. Ilana's legacy lived on through the memories of those who loved her and the efforts of advocacy groups working to prevent domestic violence. Her tragic end served as a catalyst for change, encouraging others to speak out and seek help before it's too late. The community's support and the relentless pursuit of justice by the police ensured that Ilana Shamji would not be forgotten, and her story continued to inspire efforts to protect and empower those at risk. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, press the subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts in the comment section.